He's Sam Gillespie.
And he's Andrew Saul.
And I'm just not that into games.
Wait, who again? Alrighty, welcome to I'm Just Not That Into Games. So, if you checked out last week's episode, we were talking about Bastion, and Andy really disliked it with some very interesting things to say. So I thought that this week would come along and try the game that's the exact opposite of Bastion. Everything about it is completely different. I thought I'd take us to the other end with a gritty indie game called Papers, Please. Alright, so Papers, Please is a game released in 2013 by Lucas Pope, an indie developer. You play as a border guard for a fictitious Soviet-style country called Arstotzka. The entire region has been seriously destroyed by war, and people are desperate to enter Arstotzka and try to get a better life. Your job is to uphold the law of the land and make sure everyone entering the country has the correct documentation. So, yep, that's right. You'll be checking people's forms, their passports, their documentation. That's what this game is all about. Before you storm out the door, let me just clarify myself here. You have a series of rules for the day about what the government wants to let in and what they want to keep on the other side. You then need to process people, making sure that they follow all of the rules. At the end of the day, you get paid based on the number of people you process, meaning that you're encouraged to work quickly. If you work too slowly, you don't earn much money at all. And you need that money to look after your family. If you process someone incorrectly, so if you let someone in and they don't have the right documentation, or you kick them out and they should have been let in, you'll take a penalty, which means that'll dig into your savings even more. So this game is brutally difficult. It's all about being focused and working really hard and efficiently. And it is work. It seems like a pretty terrible game. It seems really bad. But the thing is that you start to face difficult questions as to what you would actually do in the situation. By being a little bit more realistic about the world, and you start to put yourself in the shoes of a person that probably exists in the real world, having to face these difficult issues in life, about what they prioritize right now. Do they look after and do what they think is right, or do they do what they can to just get paid? And this game actually makes you question some of the things that you would do in these circumstances, and I think it's a really interesting game for you to check out.
Well, it certainly sounds shit. Like, it just sounds terrible.
Yep.
A terrible game that doesn't sound like it's fun to play.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that fits in with the whole theme of this podcast, which is I'm just not that into games. So you're hoping to drive me even further away from ever wanting to play these things that you nominally call games. This sounds like saying there's nominally a game. Mm-hmm. And it's a game because it's distributed on some kind of console or platform. And like, we only sell games. This is just, this could just be on Amazon Mechanical Turk or Upwork or Freelancer or somewhere like that as a task which someone just pays you to do, and you just pay because you live in the Philippines or somewhere which has low wages.
So everyone pretty much universally thinks that Papers, Please is the hardest game to ever pitch to anyone. It is the bizarrest game that has ever been made. I would probably hands down say it's the weirdest game that exists. But I don't know, man. Everyone I know who's played it has found it to be surprisingly engaging and surprisingly interesting.
Well, saddle me up, cowboy. In I go again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeehaw!
So, you've just played Papers, Please. What are your thoughts on it?
So, I'm just going to run through, firstly, how my experience with the two games I played. Because I played two games, so I got through 2 sessions of it. Mm-hmm. So, in the first session, I died in the first 30 minutes, right? So, my family got locked up for not paying the rent.
Right.
But I managed to learn enough in the first playthrough that in the second playthrough, which I spent about 2.5 hours playing, and I actually ended it there. I could have, if I played all the way to the end, it feels like to dying again, because that's the way I was headed. I feel like that play session probably could have been about 3 hours.
Yep.
Maybe 4 hours if I caught another lucky break. So the only reason I lasted that long in the second PlayStation, because I was definitely on the road to dying again.
Yeah,
right?
it's a brutal game.
Yeah, no, dude, I was like doing better than last time, but not a lot fucking better. Like, just, yeah. It's just some random dude gave me $1,000.
That was probably about day 6 or 7 of that.
Yeah. So a random dude pops up and just gives me $1,000.
Yeah.
And
So basically, the plot reasons for that is that it's implied that it's a bribe to let someone through.
yeah, totally, right? If I had more time to kill, I might have kept playing for the rest of the day just to see how far I could get through the story. So, look, I'll run through what I liked and what I didn't like.
Yep.
And then I'll give you a summary of what I think this is, because I don't think it's a game.
Well, we'll have a debate about that one, I'm sure.
Okay, so what I liked was the whole setup of the game. So the graphics, character dialogue, sound, overall story. Everything makes sense and fits totally together for me. It's an oppressive, slightly mad, ex-Soviet failing state. People are angry, but they're mostly just beaten down. And everything you do, everything you see, everything you hear, it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and the game, I like the gameplay from this angle. It's so simple, and it emphasizes the hopelessness of the situation all around. You ultimately have to rely on events around you and a whole heap of luck to survive. There's no way to make headway. You can only really starve off eventual demise and wait hoping for something to happen. That just speaks entirely to what it's like in these failing states and what it has been like in these failing states.
One of the things that I found really quite interesting about the game is that you say that they're all beaten down and just completely destroyed with everything, and you're just another one of those hurdles that have broken them down. You're exactly everything that's happened in the past. You're just another obstacle to these people getting home, getting safe, getting somewhere where they can make a new start. And,
I know.
And you just feel like the worst person in some cases.
I didn't feel like the worst person.
Well,
but
yeah.
But I didn't think any of the abuse people chucked at me wasn't warranted.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, yeah, of course you're pissed off. Of course, of course you're pissed off. And yeah, I felt like, of course I'm an obstacle. I'm a ridiculous obstacle, which is another ridiculous thing happening in a ridiculous situation in which you find yourself, which is, again, exactly like the old Yugoslavia, the old Ukraine. All these places are just ridiculous places with ridiculous things happening to just make people miserable. And it's like, yeah, every time someone gave me abuse, it didn't even seem random. Like, you'll see games where people yell out, "Oh, I hate you," and you're like, well, why'd you even say that? Like, you don't even know me. And then and they come across the counter and they just hurl abuse at me, and you're like, yep, that's probably fair. That's probably fair. I am a piece of shit, really. I'm a piece of shit, part of the system, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just a cog.
So I also liked how the gameplay didn't really tell you how well you were doing and what the optimal play was.
No.
And for that reason, I felt less stressed about playing well at any one time. I never felt like, oh yeah, I've really buggered that up and I need to make sure I do this and that and this, because it's like, there's no real...
There's no A+ or bonus, you did this well, here's a gold medal.
Yeah, it's like, I can't really look at my stats and go, oh, I'm doing such a great job at identifying photos, and identifying photos gives me a +2, and identifying these stamps gives me a +1. No, there's none of that. No, it's just like... it didn't even show me really how much money I made. I had to go digging around to find how much money you made, because it just gave you this is your current situation in life after this day's worth of work, right?
And just to go and talk about feedback a little bit more, one of the most interesting things I think about the game is when you make a mistake. When you let someone through that you shouldn't have, or you kick someone out that should have gotten through, how it takes a few seconds for it to click. They walk through the gate and you're just kind of wondering, did I get that one right? Did I get that one right? And then just that little pause of 2 seconds while you're sitting there, your heart racing going, is that right? If you're wrong, it lets you know in this violent, horrible printer sound, making you feel uncomfortable.
And if you're correct,
if you're correct, you get nothing.
You get nothing. And that is really true, because I felt my heart would go into my mouth a little bit every time they went through the gate, and I'm like, oh, don't give me another don't give me another black mark.
You're like, you go, Did I check the country? Did I make sure the date was right? Was that really them?
Yeah.
And when it's wrong, you just feel completely destroyed from that, because it's just so annoying.
Yeah. So we can talk a little bit about the play space. The fact that you can't have everything open as well as you should do. And it's real hassle opening something and flicking back to something else and opening that up. I mean, that just feels like a badly run system.
Yeah.
Like you feel like you're a bad actor in a badly run. Like everything's just shit. Like it just really is. Everything's crap and it doesn't
Everything's
work.
poorly laid out. You have to spend a lot of time managing that little desk space that you have.
Why are we even doing this? Like, this is just silly. Like, And the last thing I really liked about the game was there's a lot to discover in the game, but I'm largely stuck waiting for it to come to me. So in this case, it's as close to interactive entertainment that I've seen achieved.
Right.
So, okay, on the flip side, what don't I like? Well, there's some things about the gameplay that I didn't like, right? So there's way too much of an admin process here. I understand, and we've talked about what I liked about the admin process, but come on. Like, it's a lot of stamping and checking and actual doing work. And it did feel like work. It was way too easy to stop playing this game. I probably could, like I said, if I'd had more time, I probably would have kept on playing, but it was way too easy to stop. So the pacing of the game I didn't like as well. So it takes way too long to end a day in the border office. I totally bombed at the game, and it took 30 minutes. Like I totally bombed at the game.
For all of it to carry through. And
Yeah, all of it to carry through, right? And on my second go, I did better, and I'd followed it to its end. I'd maybe be clocking 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
That's just a lot of the game to keep replaying to finally finish this and see different endings, right? And on top of that, there's a lack of short play sessions. So because of the way you need to keep remembering things, i.e., pieces of information,
all the rules for the day and
this kind of crap, and also all the little segments of the story which are coming to you, and there's no way to record those little segments of story and remember why they're important, and there's no logbook to sort of, or diary to put that into, right?
Yeah.
There's no real way to play this for 20-30 minutes at a time.
Unless you're doing it like every day in a row and you get into a rhythm. If you fall out of that rhythm, you're gone. You're never going to get back.
Even then, it's going to be hard to do, I'd say. So, and that really sucks, as it really limits how often I'd actually play this game. Like, if I can't block out at least 2-3 hours for it, just not going to touch it. Yeah. And it's just, it seems like such a pity for a game that is really the kind of thing I would love to go back to regularly because of, and now here comes to what I think it is. I don't think it's a game. I think it's an episodic story told really well. Well,
firstly, before we go into that argument, I just want to point out that I completely agree with you with respect to the whole session length.
Yeah.
I was playing the game and was really involved with it. I got to about day 20 something. And I had to put it down and then go do work, do other things. And then when I came back to pick it up, it was just like, man, there's so many rules. I can't think I remember them all. You know what? Maybe I'll just move on to another game. And it's so hard to get back into it once you get back. Although they do have one nice little neat feature about it, that is, if you want to go and replay the game over and over again, is that you can go back to a save on each individual day. So if you go, I want to go and make a different decision on day 19, you don't have to start from day 1. You can go from day 19 and take a different path.
So I saw that, and it's very cleverly graphically laid out as paths. I just don't know how that would work, because it'd be very hard to pick up it at any one point in time.
Yeah.
To knowing without any kind of diary and like entry or any kind of waypoint there.
They do have that book that tells you the rules for the given day.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's not the story about it.
And then all those little tidbits that people are bringing you, and you need to remember, hey, there might be this separatist group coming through, and then someone else has given me a thing to give to engineering people, and there's a lot of little tidbits.
Little bits, yeah.
You got to keep a lot of plates spinning, right? Mm-hmm. And it's very involving and a very engaging experience, right? But the design lacks there. There's no easy way to come back and like, oh, well, I've got these 3 plates spinning in the air. Like, here they are. Let's get them spinning again, and we're off, right? We're oh, well, if you didn't have them spinning before, dude, they're like down.
Yeah.
And then something will happen, and next thing you'll be like, oh, that's right, I should have, and it's too late.
Yeah, I think it's one of those games that you sort of need to have like a reference guide, like a wiki or something, if you want to really go through and try and find all the different endings. But I feel like that's a wrong way to go about the game.
Maybe. Okay, so let's get to why I don't think this is a game.
Okay.
like the gameplay is not really gameplay. The gameplay is a mechanism for you to uncover the story.
Right.
And the story comes to you. And it's really clever that they've got you sitting, like just sat there in this booth with people coming to you, because that's exactly how the story is coming to you. Like, you're not really moving through the story's moving past you, right?
Yep.
And just like you would be there sitting there, you'd be watching a TV show or a movie, you have no influence on what's happening in front of you. Like, it just comes to you, and it's up to you to decide how to deal with that. And there is an interactive quality, of course, because you can literally die in the
You can
because of
be
your actions.
sent away or
But
starved to death.
But the story is going to come to you. The story is going to come to you, and you get to unearth it as it comes to you, slowly piecing things together, slowly letting it evolve and wash over you.
So that's the way the story is told. I think when it comes to is the game a game or not, the real question comes down to is what is a game? And this is an argument that has been raging on for generations, and there's lots of different arguments as to what the correct answer is. But at the end of the day, it's not really that important of a distinction to be made, in my opinion. If you think this is interactive entertainment and I think this is a game, well, we're both kind of correct. I mean, it's a game because it has some game mechanics, it has failure states, it has options and decisions that you can make, it has some impact that you as the player have on the story that happens. Whereas if you're making the argument that it's interactive entertainment, it's a plot that you can interact with, and it's something that has some overarching lack of control that you are impacting on in subtle ways. So we're both correct in our own different ways, and I think that I don't know if the distinction is as important as you think it is.
Okay, so I'm going to say you're wrong.
Oh,
firstly.
okay.
And the reason for this is, and here, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'll lay out my argument like this. Chess is a game.
Yes.
And it's not a story.
Oh, are you saying that games can't have stories?
What I'm saying is this, right? Choose Your Own Adventure, the books, which I've read dozens of, right?
Yep.
Are not a game. They are a story, okay?
That's a good point.
For a game to be a game, it needs to be, the majority of it needs to be gameplay. Like the defining factor of the article in front of you is gameplay. Now, and that's the reason why chess has no story, and it's all gameplay, and it's a game, right? So you can't call something like this a game because there is no real gameplay. There are some decisions, but there's no real gameplay to master at all here.
Oh, I think there is some mastery involved in the game. There's definitely... I noticed that I was getting a lot better at the game as I played. So in the essence that you are improving a skill and then you're leveling up, and in terms of a skill aspect rather than a skill tree or anything like that, I think it's very much a game. And that wraps up our discussion of Papers, Please.
We'll end today with a classic track from Hawkmoon, a Brisbane band that's really tearing it up the charts right now. Over to you, Hawkmoon.
Consciousness is all
was all